In the last episode, Lu Sheng mercilessly dealt with Lian Su and wastes no time traveling 1,000 kilometers to the Chen family banquet. And this time, he was about to play the bad guy, and the reason is pretty simple. He wanted to stir up as much trouble as possible to create an alibi, and by doing so, he would need an unfortunate scapegoat. And let's just say this guy showed up at the wrong place at the wrong time. As we continued where we left off, the poor guy stood there, staring at his luxury car, now completely wrecked, clutching his head in disbelief as he screamed in frustration. Meanwhile, He Ling-su stood frozen, having no idea what just happened. Lu Sheng nonchalantly slapped his hand and said how he really needed to learn how to control himself, flashing a fake apologetic smile, and tells the guy it won't happen next time. The guy with tears running down his face glared at Lu Sheng, then at He Ling-su, before yelling that it's not over, and he will remember both of them. Ling-su, pointing to herself, was like, "Wait, me? What did I do? This has nothing to do with me." But before she could say more, Lu Sheng casually wrapped his arm around her waist and led her away. As the onlookers whispered among themselves, they couldn't believe what they just witnessed. Did this guy seriously just pick a fight with the second son of the Zhou family? Absolute legend. Inside the mansion, Lu Sheng acted like he did nothing wrong, as if smashing a car was just a warm-up for the night. Ling-su, still in shock, pushed him away and asked him what the hell is he doing. Lu Sheng replied with a casual smile, saying he was helping her, meanwhile acting like he had just done her the biggest favor in the world. Ling-su almost lost it. Smashing a car was anything but helping her, so she asked for his reasons. Lu Sheng replied saying the dude looked like trouble, a total playboy, and since she dressed so stunning tonight, there's no way the guy wouldn't have noticed her, so he'd likely do something bad while trying to make a move on her. Then, as if his logic wasn't absurd enough, he reached over and ruffled her hair. Besides, that's always how it goes in the novels. Gotta eliminate the threat before it even begins. She couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. She let out a defeated sigh and gave him a thumbs up, because what else can she say? Soon, the banquet kicked off, and guests began arriving one after another. Among them, of course, was the second son of the Zhou family. He was barely keeping it together. Meanwhile, He Ling-su's cousin, who'd been chatting with her earlier, spotted the two, and immediately plastered on a welcoming smile. He asked her why she didn't introduce her friend here to him. Then, with a sarcastic tone, he added the first thing after Lu Sheng showed up was tangling with the Zhou family's second son, smashing his car, all the while throwing out the Chen family name. He said it's a bold move and he gotta hand it to him. He Ling-su wanted to say something, but our boy was first to speak. He tells the guy he had a real way with words. Though, if he's hearing him right, the cousin here seemed to be taking a dig at him. The guy suddenly felt a terrifying aura coming from Lu Sheng. He instinctively staggered back, his face pale with shock. He was a 6th-level martial artist himself, but somehow just locking eyes with Lu Sheng had him breaking out in a cold sweat. He stammered how he knew Lu Sheng was that prodigy from the 7th Divine Martial University who would likely become the youngest grandmaster in history. But then, like a dog barking up the wrong tree, he tried to puff himself up, telling our boy to not get cocky, and how the Chen family has ties to an 8th-level great grandmaster, so he'd better think twice before acting out. Let's be honest here. This guy clearly has no idea how deep of a hole he's digging by threatening our boy. The cousin doubled down, more trash-talking before spinning on his heel to make a quick exit, or at least, that was the plan. The next moment, his entire body froze mid-step. Panic set in as he realized he was being lifted off the ground. Hovering helplessly, he heard Lu Sheng's cold voice asking him when he said he could leave. Feeling the terrifying psychic energy, he turned to Ling-su and begged her to help him. Lu Sheng wasn't impressed with the guy just spouting nonsense. Ling-su looked concerned and asked Lu Sheng to stop messing around and put him down. Lu Sheng gave her a lazy nod before casually flinging the guy to the side. However, the direction he tossed was the actual banquet hall. With a loud crash, the cousin went flying straight through the doors, landing smack in the middle of a table. Food, drinks, and plates were scattered everywhere. People were shocked to see someone being thrown into the party. Literally, it was at that moment she felt like her world had come crashing down. Everything she'd painstakingly built over the past months is all gone. She was so devastated, so much so the art style even changed. Then, the second son from the Zhou family walked over, backed by an entourage of suit-clad men who looked like extras from a low-budget mob movie. The guy points to Lu Sheng and declares, This is the guy. After doing some homework on Lu Sheng, he calls our boy a cocky little country pumpkin who doesn't know his place, winning one martial arts competition and suddenly thinks he's some hot stuff. He followed up by saying Lu Sheng is dead meat, then shifted to He Ling Su. He licked his lips, calling her sweetheart. But he planned to deal with Lu Sheng first, then talk about how she could make it up to him later. He is aware she's just a bastard child, and the only reason the Chen family is being nice to her is because they are interested in her pharmaceutical company. Then all of a sudden, someone else in the crowd called out her name. The woman asked what on earth was wrong with her, and if she even wanted to stay in the Chen family anymore. The voice belonged to none other than her mother, who stormed over, grabbed her daughter's wrist, and ordered her to come with her, and she wanted her to apologize to Zhou personally. Just as her mother yanked at her arm, Lu Sheng shrugged and tells Lingsu this was exactly what he said. It's just like those cliché novels. He gave her a playful wink and pulled her to his side, smiling at her, saying at least she still got him. However, she held her little fist up, perhaps wanting to say, it's because of him how things ended up this way. Her mother's patience had officially run out. She barked, saying either He Lingsu cut ties with him right now and come with her, do what they agreed on, and the family will forgive her. He Lingsu didn't reply. Instead, she lifted her head and looked at Lu Sheng. Taking a deep breath, she turned to her mother, addressing her as Mrs. Chen, saying she was sorry, but she couldn't agree to her terms. With that, the woman ordered the man to capture them. Lu Sheng, of course, didn't seem to care. If anything, his smile grew wider because the party was just getting started. Lu Sheng gently pulled Lingsu into his arms, telling her to not worry, and that she wouldn't regret making this choice today. And now comes the fun part. The suited men charged at them all at once. Most of the guests stayed on the sidelines, treating it like entertainment. Some looked at them with pity, others just laughed. However, these men didn't even get close to Lu Sheng and were sent flying back by an invisible force. And with a little comedic timing, one of them crashed directly into the cousin, doubling him over in pain as he groaned dramatically. Then, a middle-aged man from the Chen family stepped forward. He seemed surprised to see the young man be a grandmaster. Rubbing his eyes, rolled up his sleeves, he said how he was just here for a casual banquet, but who knew he'd find such an interesting opponent. However, he didn't even finish his sentence before his face twisted in shock, because Lu Sheng was already behind him. Before the man could react, Lu Sheng subdued him, then sent him off with a gentle kick on the ass. The kick sent him soaring through the air, landing, of all places, directly on the poor cousin again. The woman was shocked to see how her family's own grandmaster lost so easily. She got scared, so she quickly sneaked inside the crowd, hoping to not be noticed. Desperate, the Zhou family members began calling for help from any grandmasters. Not only weren't any response, but the crowd also edged farther back while keeping their head low. The man looked shocked and had no idea what to do next. Lu Sheng turned to Lingsu and asked her if she understood now. This is the so-called elite family she had been trying to blend in. Pathetic, isn't it? Suddenly, on the other side of the hall, one of them demanded to know who dared cause trouble at his birthday banquet. All eyes turned toward the door, where a tall, elderly man entered, with several people walking beside him. One was a general, the other was Jiang He, someone we hadn't seen for a while. Gasps rippled through the crowd, saying how the Chen family had a lot of connections, pointing out one was a 7-star general, and the other was the vice chairman of the capital's martial art association. Several Chen family members sneered at Lu Sheng, saying it was over for him. Lu Sheng recognized Jiang He, which he remembered from the martial arts competition before. At the same time, Lingsu grabbed his sleeve in panic, wanting him to leave. She said she would stay behind and smooth things over. She reasoned she still has a connection with her mother, and if she makes some sacrifices, she can still fix this. She tugged harder, but our boy didn't budge. Frustration gave way to desperation, and tears welled up in her eyes. She moved in front of him, pushing at his chest, telling him to go before it's too late. Lu Sheng gently wipes away her tears, telling her to not worry. He said gently, saying there's nothing to worry about. She pounded her fists against his chest, believing he's gone too far this time. The Chen family won't let this go. Lu Sheng just smiled, calm as ever. Tells her they might have the numbers, but if it comes down to a real fight, even all of them combined are no match for him. Besides, he added with a playful wink, today's her big day, and she's the protagonist tonight. And as her backing, he's not going down that easily. She looked up, can't believe he still had time for jokes. Chen looked quite mad and demanded to know why Lu Sheng caused such a ruckus at the Chen family's celebration, and why didn't he have any respect for his birthday. Instead of answering him, Lu Sheng turned his gaze to Jiang and said it's been a while. Jiang He stroked his beard thoughtfully. He didn't expect it would be Lu Sheng. He still vividly remembers how our boy ended Lian Jibei on stage. Turning to Chen, Jiang He wanted him to let it go on his behalf. Chen took a deep breath, saying usually when someone is trying to make a scene on his 80th birthday, he won't let him go. Before he could finish, Lu Sheng interrupted and tells him to just do what he thinks is best. Chen clearly wasn't expecting this, and Jiang He mentally cursed under his breath. This kid doesn't follow the script at all. Chen is now furious, and then looks at our boy dead in the eye and asks him if he's sure of this. Then, his grandmaster's aura began to radiate. Lu Sheng simply stretched his arms and smiled, saying, "Let's make this quick." Chen turned to Jiang He one last time, but Jiang He simply said he was the vice chairman of the Martial Arts Association. He tried to help Lu Sheng with a favor, but if he acted this way, then there was no point in wasting any more words. Hearing this, Chen then said he was going to teach his youngster a lesson. It was then someone from the crowd saluted. The 7-star general stepped forward. "General Du Linjun of the Eastern Military District 5th War Zone, at your service, General Lu." Suddenly, the entire banquet hall fell into a stunned silence, as if someone had hit the mute button. Even our boy wasn't expecting to bump into someone from the Eastern Military District here. The guy, noticing Lu Sheng's confusion, quickly reminded him that they had met before, where he knocked out Dong Shengyi and the rest of them with a single punch. Hearing this, Lu Sheng chuckled, saying now he remembered, though he had no idea who this guy really was. Chen, looking a bit confused, wanted to make sure they actually knew each other. General Du quickly responded, saying, "General Lu is the strongest in their district, and as for them, they're just accompanying him for the upcoming grand military competition." Other military guys began backing up General Du's words. Jiang He watched in stunned silence, realizing that in just half a year, Lu Sheng had somehow jumped from a 7th level to the 8th level and already becoming one of the strongest. Chen's demeanor softened. He forced a smile and said clearly this was all just a misunderstanding. Lu Sheng, clearly not intent on escalating the situation further, was content to let things settle. End of the day, he wasn't here to push anyone to the limit. So he patted Ling Su on the shoulder and said, "Let's get out of here." General Du gave another salute. Just then, the woman who had been hiding in the crowd suddenly called out Ling Su's name. She ignored her and said Lu Sheng was right, looking ahead. All this fake family loyalty means nothing to her. She believed for the last 20 years, she and her father had been fine being on their own, so her life would still be great, even without this woman. All brightened up. Ling Su sighed in relief and said she was so foolish before. Lu Sheng laughed and tells her, now that's the Ling Su he remembers. Once outside, Lu Sheng grinned and jokingly asked if she liked to be the star of the show. Ling Su shot him a playful glare, saying it's he who's the actual star tonight, and perhaps tomorrow the whole capital will know that the top general had crashed Chen family's birthday party. Hearing this, our boy just chuckles and replied that's exactly what he was going for.